Namaste, and welcome to another episode of the Waking Up with Jessica show. I am so excited to introduce my next guest, Glenn Rottmann, who is a hypnotherapist. I'm so fascinated with hypnotherapy because I've seen some things online and I've never really looked too much into it. So can you just give us a little bit more information about what it is and what you do and how you got started?
Sure, what it is and what I do. So hypnotherapy it's my passion. I love it. It's what I get to do every single day of my life. There is nothing that creates more change. Instantly, quickly. I guess the best way to describe it is this, that all of our issues in life, every problem we have is in our mind. Every problem we have is a result of our thinking. The thinking about our past, our experiences, about what we want, what we believe. Fears, phobias, right? We can logically talk all day about what somebody's afraid of, and nothing will change. We say that we want to, let's say, create a change in our life. We want to go to the gym more, we want to lose weight, or we want to start a new career. But we say these things, then within a couple days, we no longer do them. Because we're putting that round peg into a square, or vice versa, square peg into a round hole. With hypnosis, we bypass that process and we use that imagination that creates the fears for us. We use the imagination that creates the phobia or those beliefs that exist because we imagine them into our life. We go to that space, and that's how we're able to make instant change, just by getting into kind of a relaxed state, into the healthier brainwaves, bypassing that critical filter that we have. And there's many ways that we get there. Sometimes if I'm doing entertainment hypnosis, it's very dramatic, where we instantly, rapidly do what's called a hypnotic induction to get somebody right into that state. Other times with therapy, it's more of a slower process where we relax, we close our eyes, and we go into that imagination. And my voice, as always now, is just programmed to change in that way. But that's what it is. We're just using our imagination for us instead of letting it run wild against us.
What ultimately led you to this field?
It was with me always, pretty much. In high school, I took a course called the Silva Method, and that was in self-hypnosis. And it was on just using your imagination to manifest and create things in your life. And so it's always been there with me in the back of my mind. And then throughout my life, sometimes I was more connected and sometimes I was very disconnected from that. But it was always there. Like, I should be doing this. I should be doing more. It was just always in my mind, like, hey, I should really develop this to what it can really be used for. And then I did, a couple of years ago, I realized I needed to do something more than just be a sales manager, which is nothing wrong with that if you're fulfilled in what you're doing, but I wasn't. And so when my life kind of changed and you might want to call it, I don't know, the midlife crisis, but I call it the midlife transformation. That's what I call it. When you realize that your marriage that you were in had an expiration date, that the whole vision of your life had to change. And I'm like, you know what? Now it's time to change it for me. A lot of, I think guys especially, when we hit middle age, but when we hit, which is fine because I'm not stopping, but when we hit middle age, there's a moment where we kind of look at our lives and we think, all right, I've done all the things right. I've done things for my kids. I've done things for my employer. I've done things for my family, for my wife, or your partner, whatever that may be. But what have I really done for myself? Because we kind of believe that doing things for my family, doing things for my partner, doing things for my kids is the same thing as doing something for me. And it is and it isn't. There is something more that each one of us has to express in our creativity, in our drive and in our lives. And it kind of all hit me once when things don't work out the way you thought they're supposed to. It's like, wait a second. Now it's time to really get in touch with what lights me up. And this is what has always been in the back of my mind, that I never had the courage to step into and work with people in this way. And first, work with myself in this way, because obviously we're always our own first client in this way.
I always say that we are our own gurus.
Yeah.
Just turn within. The answers are within. There's many different systems that you can learn different things, but ultimately you are your own guru.
Yeah.
And it's a constant evolution. You know, no one's perfect. We're all just doing the best we can on this great big rock that we're floating on in the middle of nothingness.
Well, that's true. But there's a lot of belief systems. There's a lot of bad thinking that gets in the way of us listening to our inner voice, to our inner wisdom, our inner guidance. We do have that guidance. It was always there with me. But through my own beliefs, through our own beliefs, we're not always connected to it. And that's a big part of the work that I do. Every few times a week, I get the same question from many clients where it's, I don't know that I found my purpose in life. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Sure.
I get that. It's one of the most requested things that I talk with people and work with people on, because it's a real thing. That feeling of maybe not being connected to your purpose or a purpose. I don't believe there's just one purpose for any of us. But if we're not connected to a purpose, to something that brings us internal joy or gives us a reason to get out of bed, gives us a reason to connect with others, that's where all the depression, sadness, and the anxiety starts to really come into our lives.
Especially in this day and age, there's just so much, and people are just trying to survive and do the best that they can. How can we get more clarity to find out what our purpose is? Because like you said, sometimes we just don't know what our purpose is. People are just trying to survive.
Yeah. Yes, it's a great question, and it's a very simple answer. The most profound answers are usually the simplest. And it is to find our purposes in life. We have to be willing to let ourselves explore the things that bring us joy. And if we don't know what that is, that's okay too. I'll give you the most basic examples, but this can start a whole new life. You know, I had one client that moved here from another country, and she was very successful in her job, loved her career. Didn't really like her life, though. She loved the fact that she moved from a very depressed country to here, and now has the money to buy what she wants, do what she wants. Sure. But I'm like, well, what do you like? You know, and she's like, I don't know. I'm like, come on, talk to me. What are some of the things that you would do? And she was saying that I like writing. I love writing, but she goes, why should I write if I'm not going to be the next Stephen King or I'm not going to be the next best-selling author? I'm like, why do you have to be a best-selling author to enjoy something that you do? You know, if you like playing music, I'm a musician as well, but if you play guitar or piano, enjoy it because you like the guitar or piano. You don't have to be the next big thing on this earth to be passionate about something you enjoy. And so 2 weeks later, she joined a writing group, a meetup, not a meetup group, but one of those type of groups where they meet every week and they write and they share. And next thing you know, her life was happy.
Wow.
She was connected to something that she liked. And so whether it's cooking, I mean, take a cooking class. If you like wine, learn about wine. You don't need to be a sommelier, but learn about it. Visit wineries. That might find a whole new passion in your life. If you like reading, join a reading club. You know, there's so many things that we can do. If you like woodworking, go to luthier school or take some classes and get involved in something you like. Then all of a sudden that road leads to another road. And now your life is filled with really, really beautiful things. And that's what we need. We need to just explore things, because I don't know about you and your life, but for me, a lot of the times my thinking was based around, well, if it's not going to bring me money, If it's not going to be a career, why should I waste my time with it? And that is, in my opinion, the worst type of thinking there is. Can't you do something just because you like it? Just because it's a hobby? What's wrong with having a hobby that brings you joy and connecting with other people that have that same hobby? That's what we've kind of lost, I think. I think with, the amazing connection we have with social media. And I know we always talk about like the downside of it, but there's a positive side to it too. Like, look what you get to do. You've shared how many experiences traveling the world?
I've been to at least 45 countries.
Yeah. And how is that?
It's so transformative. I always tell people to travel.
Yeah.
It just really shifts your brain chemistry. You learn that there's a lot more to life than your little bubble.
Yeah.
And there's many different perspectives and just amazing cultures that you may find weird, but they may find your culture weird.
Yeah,
And,
I agree.
But travel is true transformation, and I tell people that all the time.
Yes.
Just take a solo trip. Don't worry about, because we get in our heads, right? How am
Yeah.
I going to do this? And where am I going to stay? And how's this going to unfold? Just buy the ticket and go, and I can guarantee you things will just unfold.
Yeah. There is a very different way now more than ever that people live their lives. It's not just 9 to 5 and 2 vacations a year.
Right.
There's a lot more ways we can make money, and we can travel very inexpensively with just a few little travel hacks or getting some knowledge. But the gift that you got to share with others, right, through your travels, there's a great gift in social media, but sometimes we forget about that in-person connection gift that we have. And when people don't feel like they found their purpose in life, I believe it's because they don't have that in-person connection with others in sharing things that they both enjoy.
Sure.
I have so many things I'm passionate about that I could any one of those could fulfill my life. Like, I love cars. One day I might be the old guy with a 6-pack sitting in one of those car shows. Let me tell you how I rebuilt this engine. I love how I did the headers, and I might be that guy because I love cars, and I'm not making fun of it because I love it. I love watching the older guys sit around talk about how they, redid the block on their Chevy or they put custom rims on something. I could love that, but there's so many things that we can find connection in.
Sure.
And we lose that because we get disconnected. We get stuck in our heads and we just go through the motions of our life. And then we find out that we're not connected to a purpose. Then we start questioning, what is my purpose in life? And I think that's just a bullshit question. There's many purposes we have in life. And we find them by simply giving ourselves permission to explore things that we might find enjoyable.
What are some things that we can do the first thing we wake up to just really set the tone for a successful and productive day?
Yeah. Well, I am a big fan of meditation. Hypnotherapy is a form of guided meditation. Getting up, just starting the day, grounded in the right mindset. That can be literally as simple as sitting with your eyes closed for 5 minutes. Wow. When I get out of bed, I have a little meditation chair in my bedroom. And I like to say that I do it every single morning, but I can't say that I do. I do it most mornings, though. And I just get up, I sit in the chair, I close my eyes, and then I just set my intention for the day. I heard somebody say that we don't suffer from a lack of attention. We suffer from a lack of intention. Michael Beckwith said that. That's who said that. From
Love Michael Beckwith.
Yeah. But he was right. We suffer from a lack of intention because we just go with the flow sometimes instead of really setting up in our mind, all right, this is who I want to be today. This is how I want to feel today. And this is what I want to express in this day. And connecting to that changes your whole tone. Every morning, when I do a morning meditation, my whole day is better.
Wow.
things don't bother me. I don't react. And I really feel connected. And that connection is what we need with ourselves and with others.
Yeah, we're just so distracted by so many things
Yes.
these days. Our phone, everything's on our phone, the email, the
Yeah.
text, the this, the that. And it's like, I just want to be away from my phone.
Yeah.
And I've realized this when I've traveled and I've been to, say the Himalayas,
Mm-hmm.
just the connection and how I feel when I'm there, just walking barefoot away from
Yeah.
my phone. I feel completely different.
Mm-hmm. My one friend shared with me, it's a Buddhist saying, and I love it now. And he says, just do what you're doing. And that's something we've definitely lost. That's a practice for me too, because if I'm working on my business, all of a sudden, well, let me see what happened on this email, or let me see what happened on this phone, or is this post doing well, or is this what client is next? It's like, stop, just do what you're doing. And then when you're out with someone, just be with that person, not doing 10 things at once. Multitasking isn't doing 10 things wrong at once. You really should just do what you're doing. But that's a practice that we're out of shape in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Would you be able to demonstrate some basic techniques for the viewers?
Yeah, I'll show you a couple. Well, there's many, 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 many.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure.
one thing that I do when I work with the client, I like to see how their imagination works, because everything happens in our imagination first. And in my world, imagination is very real. So a fear or a phobia, even though we know they're not logical, right? We say it's yeah, you're imagining that fear. That fear is very real, but it was created in the imagination first. The same way our beliefs are created in our imagination first. So let's see how your imagination works. So sit with your feet uncrossed and just sit back. Now, this isn't actually hypnosis, this is just imagination. So the first thing I want you to do is close your eyes and then just bring in the image right now. No matter where you live, if you live in the United States or in other countries, other cultures, people like different foods. Some people love the taste of lemons, some people don't. But no matter who you are, we've all had the experience of biting into a sour, bitter lemon. And you imagine that juice just dripping down the back of your throat, feeling it start to sting. You can even imagine the backs of your cheeks start to stiffen a little bit, and that juice starts gushing. It's the most bitter, bright yellow lemon. And you just imagine the smell, the taste as it's dripping down your throat, just tightening up your mouth. And you might even have the desire to swallow. And if you do, you can, but you feel that stinging sensation. Make it bigger, make it 10 times stronger, and then let that go. But keep your eyes closed. And I want you to think of this thought. Think this thought. The more I think about opening my eyes, the more I will relax them. Think that thought again. Let that thought play in your mind. The more I think about opening my eyes, the more I will relax them. Let that play in a loop so it starts to become so real that the more you think about opening your eyes, the more you will relax those eyes. And you'll find in a moment that thought becomes so strong that your eyes now are so comfortably shut that there's nothing you can say, think, or do to open them. Because every time you think about opening them, you relax them even more. And it starts to become really funny to you. And it doesn't bother you because you're in complete control. But to be wide awake, but your eyes are so comfortably stuck, it's a really funny sensation. It may cause you to start to smile even more because you realize now that thought will not leave your mind. And maybe you're thinking, I don't want to open my eyes because I don't want to open them. Or maybe I accepted Glenn's suggestion. Or maybe I can't tell the difference anymore. But I know that I'm wide awake and my eyes are so comfortably shut that it's a really funny feeling. That's right. And the more you keep thinking about opening them, the more they shut down. And it's the coolest thing. Now, what's even cooler, the only way for your mind now that it has completely accepted that suggestion, the only way to release that suggestion would be to smile so big and feel so good that your eyes will then open. But you can't fool your subconscious mind. So you have to accept that suggestion. You have to feel fantastic. And you have to smile so big that your eyes will then open. There you go.
Wow.
What was that like?
That was trippy.
It is it's fun, right?
Yeah.
That's your imagination. So now we would take that and go one step further, even deeper into the next place. So that's just a little taste of what our imagination can do.
Wow. I felt blissful. I just felt everything I saw. I saw I was like in a foreign country, and people were facilitating the lemon. It was it was fascinating.
Yeah. So that's how we start. And then we go much deeper than that. So what you could do is also you could take, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
So you can take your right wrist and put it on the couch like this. And put your arm up and just go like this. Let your arm relax. Almost like it's just, right? And then look at your hand. Now just imagine your elbow locking. Imagine your shoulder locking. Just look at your wrist. Don't look at me. Look at your hand. Just stare at your hand. And as you're looking at your hand, start to detach from it. You're just going to stare, let your eyes unfocus, and just look at that hand. Let it become loose and relaxed. Even though your elbow is locked and your shoulder is locked, it's like your arm is comfortably suspended from a cable. And as you look at your hand, I only want you to think about the question and not the answer. And so the first thing I want you to do is look at your hand. And I'm going to ask your subconscious mind to move your hand in the direction of yes. When I ask you a question and the answer is yes, show us which direction yes is. It may be up, it may be down, it might be side to side. But just think about that question. Which direction is yes in? You'll find your wrist is loose and can move. Oh, there you go. Now your fingers are going up. Good. Now, show us the direction of no when the answer is no. Good, good. Now, I want you to think about this question. You don't have to say what it is. Keep letting yourself go deeper into this trance-like state. Let your eyes unfocus as you detach. Is there a change in your life you would like to make? If so, show us the direction of yes. Good. Now, are you aware without speaking it? Are you aware what that change is that you want to make in your life? Good. Now, here's the most important question. Are you aware of exactly what is causing you not to make that change? Do you know what needs to be corrected to make that change? Nice. Now just take a deep breath all the way in. Release it all the way out. With your eyes open as you stare at that hand, I'm going to ask your subconscious mind right now to go ahead. It already knows exactly what the change it needs to make is because it told us that it did. Without speaking a word, I want your subconscious mind to make those corrections for you right now, to make them in your imagination, to make them in your emotions, to make them so real that you feel that shift already taking place inside of you. Your subconscious mind knows exactly what to do and how to do it. The only thing you have to do is allow it to do its job. And I believe you've already answered that question for yourself. Now, when those changes have been made, go ahead, let your subconscious mind answer with another yes. Beautiful. Now take a deep breath in. Close your eyes. Deep breath out. That's right. Feel that shift that has already taken place within you. And now, very slowly, that hand will begin to shift down towards your lap. So slowly, so naturally, even slower. As you feel that hand going down, you feel your head start to become heavier. And slowly, as your hand drops, your head gently comes forward with it. You feel that sinking sensation, but you're sinking into a deeper, healthier awareness. Feel that hand drop all the way down. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel yourself relax even more. Head becoming even a little bit heavier. Gently tilting forward. Slower and deeper. Letting go even more. Now, when I count from 3 to 1, you are going to take a slow, deep breath in. And you are going to feel that change that has already taken place go through every cell in your body in the most profound, powerful, and beautiful way. 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. It's like a shock of beautiful energy through your entire body. And when I count from 1 to 5, you'll open your eyes. You'll feel wide awake, feeling incredible in ways you can't even explain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Eyes open, wide awake, feeling amazing.
Wow. What just happened?
What just happened was you made a change in your life that quickly.
I felt that
Yeah.
very, very strongly.
So what we were doing, those little movements is what's called an ideomotor response. It is how our subconscious mind, you've heard of like people that use like muscle testing in kinesiology. Have you seen that?
Yes.
It's a very similar process where if you tell somebody something like, hey, I love you, your arm is, then you touch their arm, they're nice and strong. But if you tell them something negative, their arm goes weak. It's an ideomotor response of our subconscious mind. And so right there, those little movements, what we talked about when we started this podcast, the first thing you said was, we already have all the answers inside of ourselves to make any change in our life. You used different words, but your whole intention was, we already have what we need. We have a wisdom, we have a teacher within. And what that just showed you is, without even saying what the issue was, you already knew what the issue was. You knew what changes needed to shift, and you shifted them all in 3-4 minutes on your own.
Wow.
Using your own learning, your own teaching. And that's how powerful we are. Cool stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm like blown away.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
That was fascinating. I would love to possibly do a in-person session with you.
Yeah, we can go do
one
more.
day.
But right there just shows you how quick you can make a change. And how I don't want to say the word easy, but how easy it can be when we're guided in the right place. And plus you're receptive and you're open. Sometimes the work that I have to do is allowing somebody's resistance to leave. So then we can get to that work. But you don't have any resistance. You're open. And that's why it just flows so easy within you. Some people are not really connected to their body. So to imagine, because I did see your cheeks moving, you were tasting the lemon. Some people, their body isn't a safe place. And when their body isn't, if they've been through a lot of trauma or a lot of negativity in their life, their body doesn't feel safe. So we have to kind of allow that resistance to leave so they can reconnect to those things. And they can allow themselves to play and to feel like, oh my gosh, I am awake, but my eyes will not open now. Because at first your eyes open, but then you started to hear that suggestion and all of a sudden it took place. The same thing with allowing, your hand didn't go like this, it's not supposed to. That little movement, that means it is something you allowed to come through you. So all of that just shows when we're not resistant, how much more we can achieve.
Wow.
So that's a little demo of kind of what I do. Now, when we do an actual hypnosis session, it's a little deeper of a process, but it doesn't have to be. People have quit smoking just by doing that.
Wow.
Yes. They've released amazing traumas. I mean, when I say amazing, I mean horribly traumas, but amazingly, they've released them. Something as simple as that can be that powerful. And then we go deeper in other areas. So that's what I get to do.
That's fascinating. I'm blown away. And I feel I have like this euphoric feeling right now. Is that normal?
It is, because that was the suggestion that you accepted. I said your energy is going to lift. Your energy is you're going to feel through your entire body, every cell in your body.
Yeah.
And you took that in, and that's what you have now. And so I do that. One of the greatest things I've ever done, I mean, I know it now for sure, is with my online community called the HypnoVault. When I knew it was time for me to move on from my job, just being a sales manager, I'm not saying that in a negative way. Sales managers are my favorite people. Sales is the best. But for me, I was done with that path. So when it was time for me to leave the 9-to-5 job, I knew the writing was on the wall in the company I was in. I made great money. I had the company credit card, company car. I took lavish vacations. I've taken my daughter to Tahiti, to Fiji, first class, all these amazing places. But I knew that had expiration date as well. And so I started to create the HypnoVault. And the HypnoVault is my online community where there's, I think now, almost 200 video hypnotherapy sessions. And so I take an issue and I'm like, all right, how do I make this as if somebody's working with me one-on-one? Like, how close can I get to giving some of the experience like we just did, but without us having, where they can do it in their own home? Sure. And so I just went on this absolute driven path to create, to write sessions, to grow this. And then I started sharing it with the world through marketing and sending it worldwide. And then I grew my whole online community from that now. And I have thousands of monthly subscribers that are there. Every time I do a live group for my subscribers, it's bigger and bigger. People are sharing more. They're using the chat rooms. They're connecting with each other, all over making positive changes, overcoming struggles. And it's the greatest gift that has come out of, my whole life's experience, and I get to do that every day now. I get to live in that and keep adding new sessions and keep just giving more value and sharing with the people that are part of my community. It's the greatest thing in the world. And it keeps me driven, because being an entrepreneur isn't always all it's cracked up to be.
Oh, yeah.
The
struggle can be real, but it can also be a beautiful thing because you're working for yourself. You're doing what you love. You don't have to answer to nobody. You're helping people.
Yeah. Now, all of that is the good side of it. Yeah. And the challenging side of it is you can't take your foot off the gas. Yeah. You always have to keep creating. You have to keep growing within that. And that also includes building a team around you. It also includes the business side, the opening up your corporation, doing payroll, doing the insurances, doing all the things that come with the business, which is the unfun side, but it is a business too.
One thing I struggle with in my line of work is just procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
I'll shoot amazing content, have it on 2-3 different cameras,
Yeah.
but never get to a place to put it together. And
Mm-hmm.
I've tried editors, and it's like starting an art project
Mm-hmm.
and handing it to somebody that doesn't know you to finish it.
Yes.
Right. And then you get it back and you're like, this isn't me. This is not
Mm-hmm.
my energy.
Which happens to everybody. And there is that balance point where do I do it myself or do I bring someone in? Now, I will say there is the right editor for you to connect with. And you cannot let the experience of what you just described, I've had it as well. I've had so many. Fiverr can be a wonderful tool and the most frustrating tool at the same time. I get it. I completely get it. But that doesn't mean we stop trying. There's probably somebody in your immediate circle that you haven't even thought of, or somebody's kid that's in high school that knows how to edit like nobody you've ever seen. My daughter, she's 17. She makes me so angry because I remember I got my Mac set up. I had Photoshop on there. She's never worked in Photoshop. Within minutes, she was taking background objects out. She was, I'm like, how do you know how to do this? She's like, Dad, how do you not? I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's just in their DNA. I realized those software programs, they're written the generation of my daughter's generation. It's intuitive to them. It's not intuitive to us.
Sure.
I remember the same way my dad would be like, how do you know how to play that video game? This was a little cheesy Coleco game or something, right? But I'm like, I just know how to do it. And he's like, I don't know how to do it. And now I see that with my kids. She just knows how to work. Even software, when we go into editing programs, it just makes sense to the way she thinks.
Wow.
So there is somebody you haven't thought of that has a kid that would love to be able to help you, that can see it differently. And I think the best tip is you need a collection of younger people and older people too. But my manager / assistant is younger. My video editor is younger because they see things a little differently. And I think that's really key, that somebody's age shouldn't keep you from utilizing them because they have a different perspective on things, especially when it comes to this world of tech and images and videos, So they're there, but I had a challenge with that too because I'm a mediocre editor. I can make it look the way I want, but nowhere near the real people. And I'm mediocre at Photoshop as well, but enough to get what I want done. Now I'm like, Olivia, come here. She's like, Dad. I'm like, sit down. I pay her in Starbucks. I do. She's like, how you paying me? I'm like, remember the Starbucks this morning? Remember the one we're going to go to tomorrow morning? Finish that little picture ad, would you? And then 2 seconds later, it's perfect.
Sweet deal.
It is. But there are people like that you can find, and you can't let that be a stumbling block. I know it's frustrating because when you bring somebody new on, you explain yourself all over again. But that's what keeps people. That's what the procrastination is. The frustration of, what if I do this again and it doesn't work out? That can be in a big level or a small level. But for all of us, anybody that wants to move up in their career or start a business, you name the people, I've talked to them, but one restaurateur, is that what you call them? People that open up restaurants. Yeah. She was like, I've had 3 restaurants fail. I'm like, okay, so what? How many successful restaurateurs have had 10 restaurants fail? Then their 11th one became a Michelin restaurant. I said, you don't know which one is going to be the one. You don't get to know that in advance. But if you let that stop you, you're never going to get to know. So why don't you just give yourself that gift of moving forward, whether you know the answers or not, and see what happens. And that restaurant might have you meet somebody that backs you on the next restaurant that is bigger than you ever imagined. You don't know what the path is going to be. You're not supposed to know. Like, one thing I don't do anymore, and I don't know how you feel about it, and it isn't, I know they have their place, but I literally have zero desire to go to a psychic and know my future. I have none.
Yeah, I used to,
Okay.
but then I woke up and I'm like, I don't want to know because I'm creating my own reality.
Yes. I'd rather experience it and be surprised by what's coming around the corner, things that I don't know that are going to come into my life yet. And I mean, it has its place. Obviously, there are people that are connected to something that we're not. But I just have no desire to know because I just enjoy what you said, the creation process of just seeing where this road leads to and where this one leads to. I had no idea what was going to come into my life when the only thing I wanted to do when I started to do this hypnotherapy work was I thought it'd be nice to have a product people can download on my website that kind of complements my one-on-one sessions. And that was something called the Hypnosis system, which was, it's a 1-month program that guides people through the main things we struggle with in life. It took me a year to record and write that program. And I had it just as a digital download. And that's all I thought I was going to do. And then I thought, well, maybe I want to put it out there. I don't know how to do this. So I joined a marketing company that taught me how to do Facebook, Instagram ads, Google ads. And I run and manage that for myself still. But then we turned that into a full online subscription community that created the HypnoVault with hundreds of sessions now. And I just wanted to have a couple digital downloads. I had no idea it was going to turn into what it just did. And it's amazing how that road, and it's still growing. And I did in December of last year, my first in-person seminar called Break Free. That was amazing, where I talked about beliefs, and it's not just a seminar, it's like a workshop that we do. And during the whole time, I'm doing kind of what I did with you, but full-on rapid inductions, taking people into hypnosis, doing amazing change work through the context of the whole workshop. And we're doing another one in March, and it just keeps growing in the most amazing ways, So knowing that, I would never wanted to have known where it could have gone in the beginning, because that may have changed my decisions.
Sure. I mean, like we talked about with just going to a psychic, they can plant seeds of doubt in you, which is good business for them, because then they're helping you do all this. Yeah. And it's happened to me where you share very vulnerable things and they'll say something and then it's a seed and you're thinking, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe she's right.
Yeah.
So
yes, it's true. And like anything else, there's good and bad everything. There's amazing therapists and there's horrible therapists. There's amazing doctors and there's horrible doctors. There are real psychics that are connected to something we can't quite explain. And then there are those that just do cold reading and manipulation. There's both. And cold readers can be incredibly intuitive. I could do one. You remember P.T. Barnum?
No.
You do. I'll refresh you. So the Barnum and Bailey Circus?
Yes.
Okay, so P.T. Barnum was the greatest. Hugh Jackman had that movie, The Greatest Showman. Yeah. One of my favorite movies ever about P.T. Barnum in a musical. But he had these things called Barnum statements, which seem like they are specific to you, but general to everyone. So, for example, if I wanted to do cold reading with you like a psychic would, right? I would let me rephrase that. If I wanted to do cold reading like a fake psychic would do, because I'm not downplaying the purpose of people that are connected, because there really are people I've met that are connected to things I can't explain. So just to be clear, I'm not talking about those, but I'm talking about the people that know who they are, that manipulate others. We'll talk about a few of those. But so, for example, I would say something like, wow, it's great to see you today. Just the way you're sitting, it shows me, like the way your shoulders are, that you're very confident, but with your legs crossed the way they are, you're not completely sure about yourself in certain areas of your life. And I have a feeling, just looking at you, the way you're sitting, the way that you're breathing, you have really a combination of confidence and some insecurities that I'm not sure that you know which one is always driving you. And I would also say, just by the way you're nodding right now, there's something else I'm kind of getting from you. You seem like a caring person to me, just the way your demeanor is, the way your energy is. But I have a feeling that maybe you care a little bit too much sometimes. And that's one of your biggest downfalls in life. And that ends up hurting you sometimes more than it helps you.
So true.
That was the most generic thing I just said ever.
I know. And I'm like, yeah.
I know. That would
Yeah.
apply. That would apply to. I could bring 1,000 people in this room. They'd have the same experience you just had. That was just cold reading and Barnum statements that feel true for you, but could apply to anyone and to everyone. Right? That's just so be careful when it comes to those things, when it comes to who we're sharing our stuff with. Now, there's another guy I talk about sometimes, because I get a lot of references towards him. So I did a party. It was right smack in the middle of COVID. It was a 50-year-old birthday party, the craziest party I've ever been to. A couple hundred people in this backyard. There was like 5 different food stations, 2 bartenders. They had a fire breather, a DJ, a band, and they brought me to come do a hypnosis show. And that back then I was doing some entertainment hypnosis. So I brought my daughter, because she is also, when I don't have my other team with me, she's my backup camera person, right? And so I'm like, there's no way I can do a stage hypnosis show here. It's too crazy. I'm like, well, what I can do though, they had a microphone. I can just do a bunch of street hypnosis examples, and I'll kind of do it that way. I didn't know what I was going to do. So Olivia's taping, and I started doing a lot of really intense rapid inductions, like where you sleep. And this one girl, her arms were coming closer. I took her and I pulled her into hypnosis. But because she had really long hair, she kind of fell forward. Her hair came forward, and it looked as if I like snapped her neck or something, where I didn't. She had the best time ever. But what happened was a circle formed around me, and I just started going sleep to everybody around me, and people were dropping on the floor. And my daughter goes, "Dad, you have that faith healer vibe about you today." Right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally do. So I made an ad about that. It's my best ad to this day to bring people in, because I use that kind of shock entertainment to get people to wonder, like, what's really possible? You know, if he can do that and make somebody stuck to the floor, make them forget their name or not be able to talk, could hypnotherapy help me with an issue I'm struggling with? And the answer is yes. And that's why I do it that way. But I get a little bit of flack for it, because they think it's for show or they think it's fake. They're paid actors. I'm like, yeah, I paid 200 actors to be in this backyard party so I can do this. But when they get to the faith healer vibe, there is a guy, his name is Benny Hinn.
Oh, yeah.
You know him. So you know what he is, right? He's a stage hypnotist.
I was going to ask you that.
Mm-hmm. He's not a man of God. He is not a spiritual man. He is a disgrace, because if he just said, I'm a stage hypnotist, and I use the power of adrenaline and the power of the crowd to create change, then he's being legit and I could respect him. But because he makes it seem like this power is coming through him from God, it's disgraceful. And when I get to sit with him and have this conversation, because people have accused him and he always weasels out, he will not be able to weasel out from me when I call him out. I say, I know what you do. I can do the same exact thing because I've done the same thing, not under the disguise of God, under this is what hypnotherapy can do. And it can be powerful and it can create pain removal. And it does help people heal because we have that innate ability within us to heal. You know, there are true faith healers, but that happens in prayer groups in the back of a church, not on television. You know, there's healing in praying for somebody and meditating and visualizing somebody in health. All of that is powerful and real, but it's not him. But when he goes fire and people fall, you know, his whole show, his whole ministry or that event that day, it's one giant hypnotic induction. So by the time you walk on stage, you are already hypnotized. So when he goes fire, you just fall over into this state of hypnosis. And then he says you're healed. Now, some people will detach from their pain. Others will wake up the next day when the adrenaline is worn off and they've done so much damage to their body. It's funny, they never interview those people the next day, you know? And so just a quick note, so there's a guy named Darren Brown who's incredible. He's in England. He's a stage hypnotist, a magician, and a mentalist, and he blurs all three. And he does something, is it the Revival? I forget the name of the show he does, but he actually does that. He does a kind of a faith healing thing, and he actually trains another hypnotist to pose as a faith healer to help people, to show you that it's really just the power of our mind and hypnosis, you know, and it's just not an okay thing when people pose like it's from God, when it's just using adrenaline and hypnosis. But Benny Hinn, one day we're going to have this conversation, and I'm calling you out, and you are a disgraceful human being. That's it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being an amazing guest on the show. I learned so much about you and hypnotherapy. How can people find you and how can people connect with you?
As easy as can be. Instagram, hypno_Glenn with 2 N's, or just type my name on the internet, Glenn Rottmann, and I come up everywhere. My main website, thehypnovault.com, or my name, glennrottmann.com. But it's probably easier to remember thehypnovault.com because that goes to me. And I'm there. So my online community is there. Dive into the Hypnovault. I mean, the best way to start your day is I have 12-minute morning meditations just to get your mindset right. It's a beautiful way to start your day. So find me there.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn.
You got it.
Thank you, everyone who watched or listened to this episode. Catch us on the next episode. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.